So there's a lot to catch up on. We haven't talked with you for a month now. You're coming in monthly, and it's always great to catch up on what's happening with agriculture in Atlanta and around the country and the world, and what's happening with Truly Living Well. Now let's just start again about Truly Living Well itself. You have how many gardens you have, or farms?
We have 4 sites around the city.
4 sites around the city, and the latest one is Wheat Street.
Wheat Street Gardens, right off of Auburn Avenue in the old 4th Ward.
Right.
We remain excited about that.
Yeah.
About that spot.
And we'll say this off the bat that Truly Living Well has 2 markets during the week. One on Wednesdays at the Washington Road site, and the other on Thursdays at the Wheat Street
Friday.
site. What did I say? Thursday? Sorry, Friday at the Wheat Street Church. Now, or close to the Wheat Street Baptist Church, I should say. Now, Rashid, you just participated in what you're referring to as a conversation, actually, with some urban agriculture folks here in Atlanta. There's a group called So Green in Savannah, I think, that pulled this together. But tell us about this. How many of you all were there, and what was the purpose of it?
Well, there were less than 100 people, maybe about 100 people who got together. They came from various parts of the country. The meeting was organized by Cynthia Hayes and from So Green and the SoFi Network, and Robert Hamilton from Spelman helped organize it. Donna DeKai from the Department of Health. They put up some of the money to bring people in to have a conversation. Will Allen was our keynote speaker. Will Allen is the big dog in the urban agricultural hunt. He's a MacArthur Genius Award. He's a part of the Clinton Global Initiative. He was chosen as one of the 100 most influential people in the world last year, the year before. So it was good to have Will here. We had a good time. So the conversation, one was to create a language, to have a language of urban agriculture. I think it's important that those of us who are active in the urban agricultural movement, not allow the academy to define our terms and define the terminology that we're going to use in describing our work. I got an email recently from a man somewhere in the United States, one of the listservs on which I participate, and he was asking, was there any municipality or state government that has issued a definition of what is suitable land for urban agriculture? And I thought that question was patently absurd for someone who is an activist to go look to a municipality, some body of government, to define what is suitable land. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I asked him about it. The explanation he came back with was reasonable, but the point is that
why didn't it make sense to you?
Why are you going? I'm doing the work. And who's going to tell me what is suitable land for me to grow on?
Okay, all right.
Certainly
all right.
Not the city council.
Right.
Not the governor's office.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that made no sense. But once he explained that the city in which he lived was getting ready to issue an ordinance, so he wanted to see a sample of perhaps some ordinances that had been initiated in other parts of the country.
Okay. All right. What other sorts of things did you all discuss?
Oh, that was the principal thing. You know, one of the problems that we have, it's not a problem. When you say urban, whether it's urban music, urban clothes, it always refers to black people. And that's a code word for black people in the music industry. So and this is, you're talking about urban agriculture, urban farming. Black people live in the cities, and we need to maintain food self-sufficiency, attain horticultural literacy. We want to have sovereignty over our food. And I think it's important for us to define these issues for ourselves rather than having them defined for us.
So, did you come up with some ideas for language? Is that did you do that, or is this a beginning process then, a beginning dialogue?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key objectives that I wanted to get out of the conference is get to meet some of the people from other parts of the country who are doing work similar to mine.
Okay, so who are some of those?
Well, Malik Yakini out of Detroit, he and I had a very, very good conversation. We co-facilitated one of the sessions, and to be able to have to meet him and see how much we have in common. I mean, those are the kind of relationships that we want to forge. Tracy out of D.C. is dealing with land trusts in the black community. So there were just a number of people that it was very quiet. It wasn't really a conference. Some people thought it was a conference. It wasn't. Conference is where you go to learn things. This was an opportunity for us to to converse. So what are some of the outcomes? Will Allen asked us to be a regional outreach training center for him. So we're going to Truly Living Well will now have an official connection with Will Allen. So we've had a number of good things. Cornell West and Tavis Smiley came to visit us this month.
Did they come to the conference? They were not at the conference.
No, that's another event. They came to visit the farm.
Oh, okay. And how was that? Or why were they coming?
They're on their poverty tour, their poverty bus tour around the country, and they stopped to talk with us, and we were able to exchange ideas with them about the role that urban agriculture can play in alleviating poverty in the cities around the country. Because 80% of people in America live in cities. So growing food in cities is becoming more and more important, more significant. More people are becoming interested in the topic. And just food in general is a major concern. We're just listening to the news before this and talking about the weather affecting the uprisings in countries around the world. And I would argue, and I think I can demonstrate, that the real reason for a lot of what they're calling the Arab Spring is because of food prices. You know, people are not getting food. There's a worldwide economic crisis, and if people can't eat, they're going to get mad. So a lot of the leaders who are being deposed, one is because the United States decided they want them to go, but two, people are getting upset because they're not able to get food. So we need to grow food. We need to grow food wherever we are, and we are in the cities, so this is where we need to grow the food.
Rashid, I want to get back to the conference again. You were talking about Will Allen, and he's with something called Growing Power, I believe, in Milwaukee. Tell us about what he's doing up there.
Growing food.
So he's doing exactly what you were saying, right? He's growing food.
Will Allen has 20 farms in the Wisconsin area, plus another 3 or 4 or 5 in Chicago. He makes compost. He grows worms. He has aquaponics, growing fish indoors. Fish in Lake Michigan is polluted. People up there like yellow perch, the people in Wisconsin. So the fish that they're getting out of the river is dirty. So he's growing them indoors and making a fortune to do that. He grows microgreens. He's got about 40 different income streams. He gives trainings, his lectures. They have a CSA farm market. He grows bees and goats, chickens and turkeys and ducks.
Oh, it's very diverse.
Oh yeah. And he has, like I said, he's got 20 farms all scattered. I just saw a thing today on the listserv. He just made an agreement with Cisco to open another 20-acre farm where they're going to grow food on some land that Cisco owns that is sitting vacant.
Okay, I want to get back to this conference again and some other things that you're involved in right now, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. Again, my name is Heather Gray, and the program is Just Peace, and we're talking with Rashid Nuri, who is an urban farmer here in Atlanta. He's coming in for a monthly conversation, which is just really great, so we can catch up on what he's doing and what's happening around the city and in the country. And then I want to ask you about the country, Rashid. You did just have this conversation. We're not going to go into it extensively anymore, but there were people who came in from different parts of the country. And what is the sense of the urban farming around the country? I know that in the last agriculture census, we were seeing actually an increase in this everywhere. What is your observation of what's happening? And it seems to be pretty solid, actually.
It is. I think there are a couple of levels of involvement and engagement in this process. One, you have the fact that it's the current au courant. It's the hip thing to do is grow food in the cities now.
Okay.
But then you have a base of people who are very serious about this work, and it's not in it because it's a fad, and who you can fully expect to be engaged. Again, 80% of the people live in the cities. We have Atlanta is the greenest city in America by virtue of trees and open space. We have enough land here to grow all the fruits and vegetables you need to feed the 5 million people. Not grains and meat, but fruit and vegetables. So what are we going to do with this land? All over the country, you have land that's laying vacant in the cities, and you have people who are hungry. That's a contradiction that needs to be resolved. And I think that the way that can be approached is through growing food and creating collaboratives and collectives of people who are growing the food. We have a couple of things that came out of this conversation that we had. I realized the importance of those of us who are engaged in urban agriculture, particularly black urban agriculturalists, need to sit down and discuss with one another and collaborate with one another so that we can support one another in the work in which we are engaged. We had a meeting, formation of a group. We don't have a name yet. I like the African American Food Association of Atlanta, so that we can bring together people who are involved in food, whether it's nutritionists, dietitians, people who grow food, people who prepare food, anybody that's dealing with issues of good, healthful food. Now, I'm not particularly concerned about those that are growing, cooking ham hocks and chitlins, but people who have healthful food, trying to feed people, we want them to be engaged in a conversation. So we're in the very preliminary stage. We had the second meeting scheduled, but I think we're very serious. One of the things that came out, realized there were 2 separate organizations that were represented at this meeting that are applying for the same grant. That makes no sense. Why are you going to have people competing against each other when we should be collaborating, particularly when this grant was a basket that has sub-awards coming out of it? So if we were to come together, all the people, and you can go through the list of folk that are engaged in urban agriculture in Atlanta, for us to be able to sit down and collectively, and if we all apply for this grant, we could all benefit from it rather than having our resources clash, and compete, because there's no need to compete. There's not. I never had any problem. No one has any problem selling food. The food will sell itself because it's quality food. We just need to work together so we can help one another. And I think that at this time it's important that there are a handful of seniors who are involved in this work, and we think it's important that we provide the leadership in this effort.
So are you expecting an organization to be developing around the country, actually, that would be focusing primarily on...
One of our collaborators wants to make it a national association. All right, and that takes time. We'll get there. Yes, I do. Later on this fall, I've been invited to provide the keynote address at the Black Urban Gardeners Association Conference, and this is their second annual conference, and one of the things that I will speak to them about is the need for a national collective, a national collaboration, so we can all talk to one another. I mean, so the fact that they're having a conference in that region, there are regional conferences, but we need to focus on, there's more of a focus that I want to see, particularly amongst black people.
Okay. So, Rashid, that sounds like a good idea because, like as far as the development of agriculture and urban agriculture around the country, are we seeing that largely that there are a lot of black folks who are becoming engaged in this?
Yes, there are.
There are whites as well, of course, but...
Well, let's see, that's one of the issues. I don't want, we need to, everybody needs to get along, everybody needs to work with one another.
Right. Right.
But I think that if you look around at most of the organizations that are around local food, they're run by white women. That's just a reality that needs to be dealt with.
Okay. I think we have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm a white woman, so I thought I had to throw that in there.
All right.
But I do want to say that, first of all, I really appreciate that you come on frequently as you do, and the information's very vital, as we all know. My question is, I'm in the mind frame, sometimes I think, that we're kind of if we need to plan right now until, the rules come down and such that we can this, and that. And I have a question because I heard fairly recently, like someone in Clarkston was growing a garden or something that I think he did for years, and then I think he got fined and all of that kind of. So if you have information about that, I mean, but is it? I mean, I think it is such that we should just start. If we have land, just start and keep on doing what we all are doing. But do you think that the system, I always think like the dark end as well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter, but we definitely need to form and do this because the people who don't want us to have food and the people who do create food droughts and food dry spots and this and that, then they're not going to want to see everybody happy with their gardens. And, I think that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, can you speak on that maybe, and I'll get...
Let me first say that I really don't want anybody to be offended when I talk about... Really, I don't want you or anyone else to be offended when I say that the focus of some of our work is with and for black people. We don't want to be exclusionary in any way, but there is a vacuum in black community, an organization where people can sit down and talk with one another about these issues, and I want to address that. But as Will Allen said to us at the conference, it's very important that this movement be as inclusive as possible because the end that we want to get to is good food for all, good food for everybody. Now, Steve Miller is the man up in Clarkston that had the problem, growing food in his own yard, and the mistake he made was to put up a sign out in front and say he was selling it, and that gave his neighbors an opportunity to get after him. And Steve, the community came to his support to help him with court, so they were able to reduce the fines and the restrictions that had been placed upon him around the food. I think there's a lot of work to do. We have, the whole concept of food sovereignty is important. If you have land, grow food. Grow food where you are, whether it's your front yard, your backyard, your patio, your porch. Whether you do it in raised beds, in the ground, in buckets, in containers. I think it's important that we grow our own food and establish self-sufficiency. The fact that we have food traveling so far to get to us, average 1,700 miles before it gets to your table. And you got a lot of people are using the terms like organic. You go to Walmart and you can find organic food that's grown in China. To me, that's an oxymoron. How are you going to have food that's coming from a halfway around the world and they're going to call it organic and it's supposed to be healthful for you when we have the opportunity to just go out in our backyards and grow our own food? I think it's very important. So the good food movement is very inclusive of all, and I want to make sure that the poor people, and poor black people in particular, have access to good quality food, and that the food deserts that we find all over Atlanta be turned into food oases. We can have farmers markets in neighborhoods. One of the programs, we got a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to train farmers. And it's not just to teach people how to grow the food, but to help them get their own businesses started. And then at the end, if we can get people, we can train folks in a general course, the next stage is to get them engaged in starting their own businesses. Then we'll collect the food from them and help them to sell it so that people can learn how to earn money to support themselves growing food here in the cities. Did I answer your question? Oh, she's gone.
I think we've lost her. We do have another caller. Caller, we want to thank you so much for calling in. So, what I'm thinking, though, Rashid, is that we know that a lot of black farmers actually in the South have been forced off the land and coming into the cities. There are a lot of skilled folks here in the city.
Yes, there are. And that's been a historical problem. The second, what's the word I want? Black farmers have gotten the short end of the stick.
Right, exactly.
For the longest time in relationship to the government programs, the government subsidies, access to capital, access to markets. So there are groups people like Cynthia Hayes who have done a tremendous amount
from Savannah. She's with So Green in Savannah.
Right. Great work. with the rural farmers. The Federation that's all your work is working with the farmers. But my emphasis is the urban agriculture.
You're talking about the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, actually.
Yeah, I think you have some association with those people.
Yes, I work at the Federation. Yeah.
But there's nobody working on the urban ag, and that's what that's my focus. And in no way is it a snub of the rural or an understanding of the politics of rural agriculture, because I've been involved in that. But I happen to be in cities, and my constituency is the urban agriculture.
Well, we have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, thanks for joining us. You have a question or comment?
I have a question.
Please.
Say you want to, use your little 2 patches behind your apartment to grow something, and how do you determine how, if your soil is not contaminated by anything?
You can have it tested. The University of Georgia will test it for you at any of the extension offices.
Okay.
And that's why you want to know if there are any heavy metals in that soil. If there are things that you can do to mitigate it. There are plants that you can put in the ground that'll pull all the toxins out. That's one way to approach it. That's the direct answer to your question. A simpler method is to do a raised bed where you bring in your own dirt. And then you know that you have good soil because you have quality materials that you started with. That's a lot less work and less concerns. So just instead of going down, go up.
Okay.
And plant your food.
And the University of Georgia Extension Office, I think, is in Griffin. Is that correct?
Well,
or where is it? They have a number of offices?
They have a number of offices around town. If you look up the extension office, there's an office right downtown in Atlanta. They have one down in East Point. There's one up in North County.
Right.
So there are several offices around the state where the tests actually go back to Athens to actually have them run.
Oh, I see. All right.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you. Pleasure. I want to give some basics, though, Rashid, just so that people know something about the Department of Agriculture, that there are offices. The USDA has something called the Farm Service Agency, and a number of agencies that have offices in almost every county of every state in America, actually. It's a huge
and all
entity.
Anywhere there's an office of USDA, they will take your sample and mail it off for you for a small fee to the university to have it tested.
Okay.
So a lot of neighborhoods have covenants that prevent you from doing things in your neighborhood. So you can only grow grass in the front yard. You'll upset your neighbors if you grow some corn out there. And
it is his land, right?
Pardon me? Say it again, please.
It is his land, right?
It is his land, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes, it is. But you have so part of our work is to help foster policies that are supportive of urban agriculture. And I think that's one of the blessings and the benefits of Truly Living Well having a site where we do downtown Atlanta, so that we're and this is why we have no choice but to provide some leadership in this area to help bring about rules and policies and guidelines that'll help facilitate this process. You got some cities will let you have chickens, some won't. So there needs to be a consistency, and we're working to bring consistency across the region. I think we've just gotten, the mayor has just gotten, Mayor Reed now has become interested. He has offered a $25,000 award to the person or group that comes up with the best design for a garden, which will be located directly across the street from City Hall on Trinity. And they got 3/4 of an acre there that they want to make it a world-class, a national-class garden, so people can see that in proximity. He has great designs on Atlanta becoming known as one of the most sustainable cities in this country. And the garden effort is just one part of that process, bringing about this sustainability.
All right, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it.
No problem. I'm very interested, and I'm going to still continue to listen for a website, because I definitely want to get
involved. Well, give the website, Rashid.
Our website is www.trulylivingwell.com. Trulylivingwell.com, and I can be reached at 404-520-8331.
And we'll repeat that again. Thank you so much for calling. I think we have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, thank you for joining us. You have a question or comment you'd like to make?
I have a small question. I live in South Fulton area, down 85, and I'm one of those who live in the subdivision also, and was interested in starting a garden in the back of my yard. And I was concerned about, we have a lot of deers in our area and a lot of rabbits in our yard. And I like looking at them and everything. And I already have a plum tree, actually 2 plum trees. And they kind of messed my plum trees already. Besides just going to like one of the gardening stores and get the fence, is there any kind of like natural things I can find to try to keep the deers and the rabbits and stuff away?
Those deer are big, aren't they? and you've got a little garden, so there's a certain amount of disproportion there that is going to be very challenging for you to address. Fence is a good way. There are a number of products out there like coyote urine, wolf pee that you can buy. I know a woman that makes a concoction with eggs, rotten eggs that stinks. You can put out there. If you go get some hair from a barbershop and hang it up, the deer smell the hair, they'll stay away. You can plant herbs. You can plant fragrant herbs around your garden, and that will. They don't like if the smell is intense to you, it's even more intense to them. Yeah, so you can put those around. You can try to grow things that they don't like, depending on what season it is. They like tender greens. Your collard greens will hold up better than your lettuce will because they like the nice tender stuff. Deer are a real issue. A fence will help. An electric fence is even better than that. And, I know we got a lot of vegetarians out here and they don't want you to do it, but there's some farmers just use shotguns and 30-06s to keep the deer away. I'm not suggesting you do that in your neighborhood, but I'm just to be very honest, deer is going to be the problem, and I think probably the best thing for you would be a fence. And even if it's a small garden, you put a fence up, a 3 or 4 foot fence. There's really not enough room for them to jump, so they're not going to get into it as much. We have one of our sites. We have an electric fence. Another one, the neighbor next to us has a small garden, and she's put up this fence, and she's been able to get her crops out of there. We had that same garden this summer. We had a bunch of beans that we planted, and the deer got them. So even someone as experienced as that we are, Truly Living Well, still has issues with the critters.
I think that'll work perfect for us. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old also, but I'll let my husband know this information as well. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Peace be unto you.
Thank you so much for calling. Why don't you give that information again of how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, the website is trulylivingwell.com, www.trulylivingwell.com. My email address is my name, Rashid, Rashid, at trulylivingwell.com. And my number is 404-520-8331.
I do want to say it is Truly Living Well Center for Natural Urban Agriculture.
That's it.
Yeah, right. What's happening now at Truly Living Well? You all have just let's go through the listing of some of the crops that you all have. What's new? Is there anything new?
Yeah, well, we're in transition to our summer, from the summer crops to the fall crops.
So you're doing that now. You're going into fall.
Yeah.
So what are the fall crops that you'll be growing?
We'll have all the cool season crops. We've already got beets in the ground. We'll plant. We planted kale, collards, mustards. Mustards are up well. We get a little further on. We'll start our carrots. We'll put turnips. We got turnips out there, rutabagas, chard, spinach, cabbage, broccoli. We got a whole bunch of broccoli planted now. Eugene Cook is he's the chief operating officer. He's production manager. So he got a lot of stuff planted out there already.
All right, that's great. I want to give the phone number again, which is 404-523-8989. It is true that the leafy vegetables don't do well in the summer, right?
No, they are cool season crops. We're going to have a class in about 2 weeks. I'm going to put, if you send me your email address, I'll put you on our mailing list. We're going to have a class in 2 weeks, and our focus are the beginners, people who are just learning this, so that they can understand the basic tenets of growing food in the city. So we're going to have a class in 2 weeks. It'll be posted up on our website, and I will send out an email probably tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, that's great. That's great. It's interesting about agriculture that there are these seasonal crops. So you have So you have your summer, your fall, your winter crops
Yeah.
as well.
We were in zone 7 on the new chart, and it's unique. We can grow food year round. The easiest way to think about it is that the cool season, you have two cool seasons in the summer. The summer has things that primarily, you grow things that have seeds in them, things that can sit out in the sun. If you take some greens or some lettuce and sit it in the sun, it's going to wilt up, dry up, and go away. But if you take a tomato or a pepper or a cucumber or a squash or a watermelon or a cantaloupe or a honeydew, all those things that have seeds in them, they stay cool because they're surrounded by water, where the leafy things don't work. That same tomato, you put it out in November and December, it's going to freeze. Where the cold weather makes collard greens taste even better because the ice crystals get in and start breaking down that cellulose. That's why you find a lot of old folks don't really want to eat any kind of greens, collards in particular, until after the first frost.
Because they know.
They know. It's a scientific,
They know.
There's a scientific basis for it, yes.
All right, we have a caller. Caller, you there?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
thank you for joining us. You have a question or comment?
I have a question, actually. I'm thinking I'm trying to start my own urban agricultural business, and I wanted to know what advice would be good for starting a business, like planning or anything like that. What are some of the most important steps to take first?
Most important consideration for urban agriculture is the quality of your soil. Compost, compost, compost. The first thing you need to do is learn how to make compost. Everything else will unfold easily. If you have no experience, you can come to our class and we can talk about it. You can come see me, call us. We'd be glad to consult with you and help you get started. This work, the other thing you need to understand is that this work is no joke. The margins aren't huge. You're not going to get rich. I am not in the urban ag business because I want to be a gazillionaire. That's not going to happen. I do it because I want to see people get good food. I enjoy the work that I'm engaged in. I enjoy engaging with people in this work. But it would be, we can show you how to make money, the things that you have to look at, how to analyze your crop mix, how to plant them, what the seasons are, how to rotate your crops. But if you're asking me for one principle that underlies success in urban agriculture, and this goes for all agriculture, is the focus should be on the soil, building quality soil. I don't even try to grow food. We build soil. God grows the food. And I think with that understanding, you come out to our site, you'll see at least 3 or 4 different kinds of compost that we have. 5 now, sitting here counting them, whether it's from the worm castings or in the making with pallets. We have a method that we're doing with wheat straw, with septic tank pipe going through it. We got a number of different ways that we make our compost, and we have some that we bring in from down the country, made from elephant dung, from zoo. But that if you look at our soils at any of our sites, I think what distinguishes our work is the quality of the soil. And the best indication of the quality of the soil is the number of earthworms that you have in it. So it's a real thrill for me to be able to put my hand down in any of those beds and come up with a bunch of worms in there. So if you want,
that's always good.
Yes, ma'am. So if you want one thing, it's the soil. In our classes, my mantra is compost, compost, compost. It'll solve disease problems. It'll solve insect problems. That, coupled with bio and eco diversity, is what will be the keys to your success and hard work.
We want to thank you so much for calling in. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. All right, again, my name is Heather Gray, and the program is Just Peace, and we're talking with Rashid Nuri, who is with the Truly Living Well Center for Natural Urban Agriculture here in Atlanta. They have 4 gardens or farms, I guess we could call them, around the city. The most recent one is at Wheat Street, which is right in the Auburn Avenue area, and it's really has been a part of the Wheat Street Baptist Church for years. It's just really wonderful that they've got this garden there. We are having people calling in. Phone number is 404-523-8989. Rashid, I know we had somebody who was calling in. I think he's going to call you a little bit later on, but wants to help. What are ways that people can help you?
Oh, we love volunteers. You can come. We're there every day, 7 days a week, 8 o'clock Monday through Saturday, and a little bit later on Sundays. So if someone wants to come and work, they just show up and then come do the work.
All right. Well, that's good.
And I guarantee we'll put them to work.
We have another caller? Yes. All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you for calling. You have a question or comment you'd like to make?
Yes, I have a question, and I'm from Jamaica, and I have an interest in the agricultural program. I am a farmer, and I was reliably informed about that program that they had at the University of Georgia that they have aborted. Is there any way you could inform me as to how I may get involved and resuscitate that program?
I'm not sure which program you're referring to, sir. By the way,
they have a farm that they closed down, and I have interest in it. I don't know if there's any way I could get a hold of that farm to lease or something like that.
I'm sorry, that one I don't know. I would just call a local extension office, call the university, and they could perhaps tell you. I don't know about a farm that's been closed. I'm sorry, I can't answer that one.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Again, the phone number is 404-523-8989. You know, Rashid, you keep talking about extension. I know that people don't necessarily know what extension means.
That's fair. The university has, every state has a land grant college. Some states have more than one. Because there were two systems. You had the 1890 schools, which were the black schools, and then you had the 1862, which was the land grant colleges that came out of when the Department of Agriculture was started. The purpose of the land grant colleges is to teach people how to grow food. The reason you have two systems is because after the Civil War, they wanted to help black people, so they set up systems here that have parallel systems in many of the states. Even here in Georgia, you have Fort Valley and the University of Georgia in Athens, Fort Valley State. And although they say there's only one extension service which covers the whole state, I just find it so ironic that some of the counties down in South Georgia have two agents, one black and one white. So that it's still some issues that are involved there. But what they do is why they call it extension, because they're extending services to the people in the countryside, showing them, teaching them how to grow food and providing all the services that are available. George Washington Carver was at heart an extension officer.
Absolutely.
What he did is he would take a mule-drawn cart out to the countryside and gave demonstrations to people on how to grow food. He prepared brochures on all the ways things you could do with a tomato, with the sweet potato, with the peanuts. He was at heart an extension agent. So when I say the extension, it's the service that's provided by the university system, where you can go there, you can get information across the board. If you want to know how to grow grass, how to grow trees, how to preserve foods, they will have that information available to you. And here in Fulton County, there are 3 offices that they have. As I said, one is down at East Point, one's up in Louise Estabrook is up in the North County, and then you have the one that's right here downtown. I believe it's over near the library, where people can go to get information. But if you look up in your phone book at the University of Georgia System Extension Service, they can direct you through their phone services to get you to the offices that you need to get the information that you want.
Our time is going so quickly, Rashid. I can't believe
That's what happens when you're having fun. I love talking to people.
Right. We do have just a limited amount of time, but before we end this discussion, though, I'd like to get back to compost. You were saying that you liked putting your hand down in that soil and picking up some soil that was filled with worms. Tell us about the importance of worms. We've probably had this discussion before a little bit, but I think it's worth going back to.
Worm castings, worm poop. Some of the best fertilizer you can get. It has as much as 8% protein in it, and it doesn't burn your crops. The earthworms, their digestive process puts out enzymes in the soil that helps prevent the disease. They help aerate the soil. They help fertilize the soil. Just their presence tells you they digest the organic material and create more organic material out there, and their presence indicates the quality of your soil. If you don't have any worms out there, your soil is not fertile. It's not healthy. So this is why when I tell folks, if you're going to start a farm, you want to have livestock, the very first livestock you want to have is earthworms. Eugene and I were riding this morning.
Eugene is your
he's
operations director at Truly Living Well.
Yeah, he called himself Robin the other day. I said, "What are you talking about, man?" He said, "You Batman."
All right.
But Eugene was talking about one of couple of urban farm in particular that is quite prominent in his work and the kind of difficulties they were having in growing food. And they came on and saw what we're doing. And this is not meant to brag. It's just to emphasize the point. These folk have a farm that they're having all kind of problems with disease this year, and the most significant thing is they don't have any compost. They're not making any compost on their farm. And to do urban agriculture, organic agriculture, to do so without using compost, you're just setting yourself up for problems. So everybody, it's to see folks take brown bags and put them out in front of the street for someone to carry away is a problem. All those waste that comes out of your yard should be composted and put back into the soil. Things you can bring material in, but nothing should ever leave.
Well, I do want to mention something that I know that Rashid does, which is when he has wastes, like from vegetables or fruit or whatever, he puts it in his freezer until it's time to put it in the compost, right? You do that, right, Rashid?
Yes, I do.
And I learned that, and I do that as well. So I have tons of bags in my freezer that I take out every now and then because I'm also building a compost pile in my house. So it's just a really good idea.
Only thing I have in my freezer is kitchen waste and
yeah.
ice cubes.
Yeah, right.
I don't eat a lot of frozen food.
But it's a good idea, though, to do that. All right, Rashid, give some contact information again.
Rashid Nuri is my name, 404-520-8331. TrulyLivingWell.com is the website, and you can send me an email, Rashid@TrulyLivingWell.com.
All right, Rashid, I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank Sobukwe for helping us this evening. And I'm going to ask everyone to stay tuned for Sobukwe and Revolutionary African Perspectives.
Peace be unto you all.